The first thing they took was my name. Not violently, not with force. Just quietly, efficiently, like it had never belonged to me in the first place. You are no longer Armenhale, the translator said in a smooth, genderless tone. You are designate candidate 17. I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, but because that's what humans do when something is too strange to process. I'm sorry, I said, rubbing the sleep from my eyes as I stared at the towering figures surrounding me. Candidate for what, exactly? None of them answered immediately. The chamber I stood in wasn't built for humans. The ceiling arched into impossible geometry, glowing with soft, pulsating light that shifted color with every breath I took. The air itself hummed, alive, almost aware. Then one of them stepped forward. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. Tall, elegant, her form composed of layered, semi-translucent plates that shimmered like liquid crystal. Where a face should have been, there was only a smooth curve of light. The council has answered my request, she said, her voice echoing both in the room and inside my skull. You're the answer. I blinked. Your request. I demanded a younger mate. That got my attention. And they delivered me? I asked, pointing at my chest. Yes. I let out a slow breath. Okay. I think we skipped a few steps here. The abduction. 2 days earlier, I had been on Earth. Just a normal technician working orbital maintenance on a satellite array above the Indian Ocean. Routine. Boring. Until the sky split open. That's the only way I can describe it. Not an explosion. Not a tear. Just a quiet, deliberate opening in reality itself. 1 second I was calibrating a sensor. The next I was somewhere else entirely, floating in a beam of pale blue light, surrounded by silence, so absolute it made my ears ache. There had been no panic at first. Just confusion. Then fear. Then nothing. Because they sedated me. The council. Now, standing in front of beings who looked like walking prisms, I realized that fear had only been the beginning. You can't just take someone, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I have a life. A family. You were selected. Another voice said, deeper, older. One of the council members emerged from the shadows, larger than the others, its form denser, its light dimmer but more focused. Based on what? I demanded. Compatibility. Adaptability. Longevity. Longevity. I repeated. I'm 26, not a houseplant. Precisely, the first being, the one who had spoken to me, said. You are young, flexible, capable of forming bonds across cognitive and biological differences. Congratulations, I muttered. You found a guy who can make friends easily. That doesn't mean I'm signing up for whatever this is. You misunderstand, the older voice said. This is not a request. Her name. I am Vaelthra, she said. We were alone now. The council had left us in a chamber that felt less like a prison and more like a habitat. The walls curved organically, pulsing with soft light. There were no visible doors, but I had no doubt I wasn't going anywhere. I sat on something that approximated a chair, though it adjusted itself constantly beneath me, as if trying to figure out what shape I preferred. Vaelthra, I repeated. That's your name? It is the closest approximation your mind can comprehend. Right. Of course it is. She moved closer, not walking, but gliding, her form shifting subtly with each motion. You are afraid, she observed. Yeah, I said. Kidnapped by aliens. Told I'm someone's mate? Not exactly a comfort zone. There will be no harm. That's easy for you to say. She paused. For a moment, the light across her surface dimmed. I made the demand, she said quietly. Not them. I frowned. Why? The demand. Her answer took time. Not because she didn't want to tell me, but because translating her thoughts into something I could understand was difficult. My species does not age as yours does, she began.
We persist.
We evolve. But in doing so, we lose something. What?
Change, she said. Growth.
The unpredictability that defines your kind. I leaned forward. So, you wanted a human? I wanted a younger mate, she corrected. One who still experiences time as you do, who still changes, who still becomes. And that's supposed to be me. Yes. I rubbed my face. You realize how insane this sounds, right?
Yes, she said.
But it is also true. The terms. I'm not your pet, I said firmly. And I'm definitely not some prize.
You are neither, she replied.
You are a partner. I didn't agree to this. You were chosen because you would question it. I blinked. That's not reassuring. She tilted her head, if that smooth curve could be called a head. Consent matters to your species, she said. I have studied this. Good, I said. Then let's start there. There was a long silence. Finally, she said, if you refuse, the council will return you. That surprised me. Just like that? Yes. No punishment? No memory wipe?
No.
I narrowed my eyes. What's the catch? She hesitated. I will have failed, she said. The truth. Over the next few hours or days, I wasn't sure. I learned more than I ever wanted to know. Her species, the alienromance, didn't reproduce the way humans did. They didn't form bonds in the same way either. Their connections were intellectual, energetic, stable to the point of stagnation. Valthera was different. She had studied younger civilizations, watched them grow, change, struggle. Humans fascinated her, not because we were advanced, but because we weren't. You live so briefly, she said, and yet you fill that time with meaning. Or chaos, I added. Both, she agreed. And you think being with a human will change you? Yes. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. And what happens to me? You live, she said simply. You experience. You remain yourself. That's not an answer. It is the only one I can give. The decision they gave me a choice. Not immediately, not easily, but eventually it came down to a single question. Do I go back? Back to Earth. Back to normal. Back to a life that suddenly felt smaller than it had before. Or do I stay? With her. With something completely unknown. You are not obligated, Valthera said as we stood in the chamber once more. The council waited, silent and immense. I looked at her, at the way her form shifted when she spoke, at the way her voice carried something I couldn't quite define.
Curiosity, hope, fear.
Alien but familiar. You really think this could work? I asked. I do not know, she said. That is why I chose you. I laughed softly. Yeah, I said. That sounds about right. The middle, becoming something new life with Valthera was not what I expected. For one thing, there was no physical relationship in the human sense. No romance as we define it. No touch, not at first. Instead, there was connection. She shared thoughts with me, not fully, not invasively, but in fragments. Emotions, concepts, memories that felt like standing inside a star. At first, it overwhelmed me. Then it changed me. I showed her things too. Music, laughter, the feeling of rain, the quiet comfort of doing nothing at all. You experience so much in stillness, she observed once. Yeah, I said. That's kind of our thing. Time passed, though differently than I was used to. I aged. She didn't. But something else happened. She began to change. The shift, it was subtle at first. Her movements became less precise, more fluid. Her voice gained inflection, emotion that hadn't been there before. And one day, she did something that surprised both of us. She reached out. Not physically, but with something deeper. A direct connection. For a moment, I wasn't just me. I was her. I felt the weight of centuries. The stillness of a mind that had never truly changed, and the sudden, terrifying exhilaration of beginning to. I gasped, pulling back. What was that? I whispered.
Growth, she said.
The conflict, the council noticed.
Of course they did.
You are deviating, the older voice said during one of their evaluations. This was not the intended outcome. It was my intent, Valethra replied. You risk destabilization. I risk evolution. I stood there, watching beings who could probably erase me with a thought argue about concepts I barely understood. Hey, I said. Maybe we should all just silence, the council said in unison. I shut up, but I realized something then. This wasn't just about me anymore. The breaking point. You must return the human, the council declared. No, Valethra said. This experiment has gone too far. He is not an experiment. He is a catalyst, they countered. And catalysts are not meant to remain. I stepped forward. You don't get to decide that. They ignored me. You will comply, they said. Valethra's light flared, brighter than I had ever seen. I will not. The ending, everything changed after that. The chamber darkened. The air grew heavy. For the first time since I had been taken, I felt something I hadn't expected from beings like them.
Fear.
Not mine.
Theirs.
Valethra, the council said, their voices no longer calm. You risk dissolution. Then so be it, she replied. I looked at her, heart pounding. Hey, I said quietly. You don't have to. I do, she said. Because for the first time, I understand what it means to choose. The light around her began to fracture, splitting into countless threads, each vibrating with unstable energy. What's happening? I asked. I am becoming, she said. The council moved then, too late. The chamber exploded with light. Epilogue, a home instead. When I woke up, I was back on Earth. Same sky, same air, same gravity pulling me down. For a moment, I thought it had all been a dream. Then I saw it. A faint shimmer in the air, barely visible, like heat rising from asphalt. Valethra? I whispered. The shimmer pulsed. I am here, her voice said softly, no longer echoing, no longer distant. You came back?
No, she said.
I changed. I smiled, a strange mix of relief and disbelief washing over me. So, what now? There was a pause. Then, now, she said, we learn how to live. I looked up at the sky. No longer just a vast emptiness, but something more. Something connected. Something shared. You demanded a younger mate, I said. Yes. And instead, I found a home, she finished. I laughed. Yeah, I said. I guess you did. And for the first time since all of this began, I wasn't afraid of what came next.